Today we're going to connect with a counselor, Regina Rachel Poniman, to discuss how to mentally prepare not just our kids, but ourselves as well for the upcoming school year. Good morning, Rachel. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you again.
Good morning.
Hi there. So let's talk about, before we actually talk about how to get students and our kids mentally ready for in-class learning, it's also important to get the parents ready as well. So what are some of the things that parents should look out for, and what should we do during this kind of online to offline learning transition?
So transitions can be hard for both children and families. For children to thrive in this new normal, parents must first get themselves kind of like in check. So I'm sure parents out there are thinking about the health, safety of their children, or even a sense of loss, as their children will be, spending more time outside of the home. So parents must first, get ready to be ready to cope too with their own feelings and also deal their children's own worries about going back to school. Yeah, so there are several things that parents can do, such as talking to teachers or other school administration about their child's schedule, school COVID protocols, or having a conversation with the child themselves about the do's and don'ts in school during the pandemic. Connecting with other parents is also important because you'll feel less alone and more comfortable. And it's also important for parents to connect with each other's partners, because it's important talking to your significant one. Let out the heavy emotions that may come.
Yeah, I'm curious, actually, you bring up a good point. Who is likely to feel the loneliness of separation more? Because whether or not we realize it, we're so used to having our kids around so much more these last couple of years. And I think, in my case, my kid's really excited to go back to school. I don't think she misses us at all. But I think at home, we kind of miss having her around.
Right.
So who do you think is likely to have to make more of an adjustment in this transition?
I think both are gonna,
Okay.
it also depends, right? With you, maybe your child really loves meeting new people, so it's
Right.
gonna be harder for you.
True.
But for other children who has, issues or, anxiety or, dependency maybe, then it's probably gonna be harder for them. But definitely it's a learning process. Transitions is usually hard on children, especially because they're like younger little agents, but it's not impossible.
Right.
Okay. Now, you didn't mention about, talking, having a good conversation with the children before they actually go back to school, the do's and don'ts. But sometimes it's a bit hard when you talk about do's and don'ts to, the young ones, right? Age like 6 and below. So, regarding to that, some parents might be worried about sending their children back to school and make the pandemic itself. So what's your take on this? So should we actually be worried? I mean, is that quite normal?
Okay, so it is very normal for parents to be worried. I mean, in a sense, they've been keeping their children safe, right, in their close proximity for a long time. And then now lending that responsibility to someone else can be scary. Yeah, it's definitely okay.
So we're in a good position. I think,
Yeah,
Paul.
absolutely. Now, my kid, I'm going to keep using my kid as an example because it's the one I'm most familiar with. She had great social skills ever since she was very little. Even when she was 2 or 3 years old, she barely learned to talk. However, she was already, kind of communicating with people that I work with. I would bring her to work all the time or around my friends, and she was great. She's not shy at all. But I've noticed since the pandemic, she's kind of regressed a little bit. I guess maybe because we're all wearing masks and you're unable to express yourself or see how others feel about you. And I find that she's a lot more shy now than she used to be before, although I still try to encourage her not to be. We can't help but notice that our children's social skills have kind of regressed, or they've become less sociable than before. So what can we do about it in order to make them, because school is a social place, it's a place to learn. However, it's a place where kids, get along with each other and they work on projects together. How can we make sure that our kids are not only ready academically or for academic learning, but socially as well?
Okay. So parents can provide practice for their children before the school starts. So for example, they can, schedule meetings, play dates with other children to, keep up with the socialization skills. You can take your children out of the house more, with COVID protocols in mind. Just simply having routine conversations with your children at home. For example, asking them to share how their day was, or they went to somewhere, watch a movie, and ask them, how was the movie and things like that. You can also like hype them up to like meet their friends again at school and like share to them like, oh, it's good to meet friends because, and then you can proceed telling them like the benefits of like meeting friends, going to school.
That's actually true because, I've play dates and we've been doing that a little bit as well. I've let my daughter go out with her friends and her parents just to get away from us to go to the movies. And then when she got back, I asked her to tell me all about the movie, even though I was a little bit jealous that she went without me. And mostly, I think the most important thing is limit their gadget use because the more they're on those screens, the less they communicate with us. And I found that limiting her use of that allowed her to be more communicative as well on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
And as parents, we all know that we need to be supportive to our children, especially they are going back to school again. But, some parents may think that being supportive is about to, giving them gadgets such as, cell phones maybe in such a young age for them to carry to the school itself. So is that part of being supportive? Because, some parents attend, especially mothers, they attend to, be very worried about the condition of, the children in the school itself. And they tend to call or message the children via the cell phone itself. So how, in your point of view, would be the best way of the parent to give support to their children?
Positive support from parents is very important because, parents have the main responsibility in educating their children. Supporters, parents too need to have a expectation of children. What their children is going through right now is different than what they have experienced themselves when they were younger. So parents need to also children's needs. If they see help provided to them through instructions, guidance, informations, definitely better to be emotionally present for their children, to help when they're having troubles, motivating them to learn from their mistakes, encourage them to also always try their best.
Right.
So parents could also provide children with like outside help. For example, if they're having troubles with math, so you can like maybe provide them with like lessons or like things like that.
Oh, okay. So for us, we think that's, being supportive, right? For parents to give extra additional lessons for the children. They don't really like that. They don't think it's, being supportive. It's just, more extra timing of learning itself, right?
We've been doing a lot of our kids' homework throughout this pandemic as well, since they've been learning online. So I think that a lot of this will be now on them, and we can just be there to help them out if they do need some help. But that's hands-on help. From a psychological standpoint, do we need to do anything to help our kids psychologically in order to kind of prepare them to be more on their own?
Rachel?
Definitely.
Oh, I think we're having bad.
Okay,
So then to look at that.
Yeah, we're having bad connection.
Yeah, we've lost you for a second, Rachel. We're going to try to get you reconnected. In the meantime, so your kids are going to school already or next week?
On Monday.
On Monday. But prior to that, they had already started in-class learning again?
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you find those first couple of weeks, at least before the holiday?
Just 2 days ago.
Yes.
So, she seemed very happy
okay.
And I'm quite okay, you know,
Okay.
but it scares me as a parent, obviously, you know, will they actually implement, you know, the protocols or not?
You know what I found? I found that because I've been kind of like keeping my eye on them. I found that kids actually adhere to the protocols a lot better, the little ones, than
Right.
the older ones. It's actually like the junior high and high school kids that are the ones that are after school, they'll hang out and they'll go somewhere. With the little ones, they'll just get picked up and come straight home, right? And then while they're at school, they're actually implementing all the health protocols.
You know what I don't really feel convenient about, you know, kids going back to school is they tend to buy something from the cafeteria, right? I don't really like that because I pack food for my children to bring, and I
Right.
want them to eat that. But
Right.
sometimes, you know, she doesn't do that.
That's
But-
true. Okay, we've got you back, Rachel. Are you there?
Yes,
All right,
I
awesome.
am.
Okay, so let's go back to that question that I asked you prior to this. It was in regards to what sort of psychological needs of the children must we keep our eye on?
Parents need to monitor their children's well-being, and you've probably heard about developmental milestones before,
Yes.
right? So this is also something to monitor, which includes, you know, their language, communication skills, social emotional, cognitive skills such as like learning, thinking, problem solving, and also like, you know, their physical development. But before you go straight to the psychologist, you should first maybe routinely ask your children, are you ready? Do you have any concerns? Do you need any help? Or maybe you can definitely say, this change may be difficult for you.
Yeah.
How can I support you?
Okay.
So by doing that, you promote the act of like seeking help, which is very important in children.
Well, how do we decide though when they need help? Because like I mentioned before, and I did speak to a couple of other psychologists about this as well, that many kids are experiencing a regression when it comes to development because of the pandemic. And do we just allow them to kind of reintegrate with school and allow school to do its job, and eventually they'll catch up? Or how do we know when they need that extra help as, hey, maybe I should bring them to a psychologist to help them along a little bit better?
So it's definitely something to monitor, right? If they seem like they're having a great difficulty for like a longer period of time, it's definitely something, you know, it doesn't hurt to get it, you know, checked out.
Right.
Or if the child's symptom of like anxiety or behavior problems are more severe,
Right.
you can definitely also talk to a healthcare professional
All right.
Okay.
just to be safe.
Of course, and it's always an important thing to have a good collaboration, not just you know, with the parents and also with the parents with children, and also parents with the teacher itself. So obviously, in preparing the children for the new school years, so which face the transition towards the in-class learning itself. So I want to know, how important is it to have a very good collaboration with the teacher and the school itself? Because sometimes, just to be honest, different school, different rules.
Yes.
Obviously, some school, I've experienced schools that doesn't allow, you know, the parents to actually to text, to message
Right.
the teacher in private. We have to send emails and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's a bit hard,
Okay.
but there's another school that I experienced that is very easy with the parents. They actually, you know, give every detailed information
Correct.
about the children in the classroom itself.
Okay.
So your point of view, Rachel.
So I think collaboration between parents and teachers are very important because they can help each other to ensure that children can thrive
Right.
condition possible, right? Have frequent communication, but also keeping in mind not to like cross the line
Yeah.
or like
Yeah, that's true.
pester them. Being in school for us is important.
Yeah, we're having difficulties hearing
So it's a
Rachel
learning
right
process
now.
for the parents, but also teachers.
Yeah, and I want to add on to that as well, because while online learning, my daughter is part of the latter that you mentioned, whereas the teacher and the parents, or the teacher and parents of the children, very communicative. They'll send WhatsApp messages to keep you updated, and if you have any concerns, you can WhatsApp the teachers. However, I assume there's going to be less of that because when you're online, you can actually literally jump in and talk to the teacher if you want to say anything. However, when they're in school, physically, you're really going to communicate a lot less. So again, I've always believed that this is great. When I was going to school when I was a little kid, my parents and teachers never spoke, barely, just once a year during parent-teachers night.
Yeah.
And me, now I feel so much closer to my kid's teacher, and that makes me a lot more comfortable as well as a parent because we're entrusting these adults with our little ones, and we want to make sure they're in good hands. Rachel, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate this kind of in-depth look as to how we're going to experience this next few months as kids continue to go back face-to-face learning. And it's been great to see you again. Hope to have you back in the studio for our next session.
Thank you, Rachel. Have a good day.
Yeah, have an awesome weekend.